So, old President Trump apparently is pulling 4,000 troops out of Afghanistan, which sounds pretty positive. There are currently 13,000 troops in Afghanistan, so pulling 4,000 out is a pretty significant reduction. And I'm pleased that Trump is willing to pull troops out even after now talks have been canceled, peace talks, between the U.S. and the Taliban to end the Afghanistan war. Although it seems that this move is pretty much symbolic. It doesn't seem like it's going to have much of an effect on the war. Trump has apparently made it clear to his folks that before the 2020 election, he wants to show that he's made some progress in ending the Afghanistan war, since that is something that he ran on. And I guess it's not something that he's going to try and run away from. He's going to try and say, hey, look, we've got less than 10,000 troops in Afghanistan now. I'm making progress. And who knows, maybe he'll be able to pull even more troops out before the election, and there'll be like only 5,000 in Afghanistan. Now, the correct number of U.S. troops in Afghanistan, of course, would be 0, but we don't seem to be anywhere near there, at least as of yet. The U.S. defense establishment seems to still have very high hopes for the war in Afghanistan, despite what we've all read in the Afghan papers that are being published by the Washington Post, which don't tell us anything new, but really just confirm everything that we've thought for years about how the military absolutely knows full well that they're not making any progress in Afghanistan, and that there's no real metric that can show any positive progress that they've made. You can say that there's progress and that they're killing Taliban fighters, maybe, but that's more of a negative thing in that they're reducing, say, the number of foreign fighters, or increasing their dead, but they're not increasing, say, the amount of folks who are in the Afghan army. They're not increasing the proportion of the territory of Afghanistan that is controlled by the quote-unquote good guys. Nevertheless, the folks in charge of this whole thing still seem to want to stay there for whatever reason. But I guess they don't mind letting Trump pull out 4,000 troops because the troops that are there on the ground really don't matter. They're not doing a lot of ground operations. They do their stupid patrol things where they drive around in an MRAP and hope that they don't get blown up by a roadside bomb. That's really the only function that they serve. They're not making anyone safer by doing that. They're just, that's their commanders telling them, okay, go out and do something and try not to get yourself killed. Really is a sick game that they play with these 18-year-old kids. But anyway, those sorts of operations apparently are not that important to the military anymore. Now what they really rely on are the airstrikes, and that's pretty much what the Afghan war has turned into. Oh, there might be some Taliban guys over here. Let's go bomb a village. And that's kind of the extent of the way things are going, because a lot of the troops, I guess, they in order to keep morale from collapsing, when you have all these guys on the ground who don't know what they're doing, in that literally they don't understand what the mission is, because there is no real mission, and that they have really low morale because they feel like they're dying for nothing, which is true. You try and limit the cases in which you're actually using ground troops, because the ground troops aren't going to be that effective in a situation like that, where they have low morale and don't really know what they're doing and just feel like they're getting killed for the sake of racking up body counts. Good example of this thinking happened last week when the Taliban attacked Bagram Air Base, which is the U.S.'s main outpost in Afghanistan. That's perhaps the property that the U.S. doesn't want to lose the most. They want to maintain that presence and have a base in Afghanistan. A big, fully functional U.S. military base. Well, the Taliban attacked it last week, and during the attack, they decided to occupy a hospital that was under construction, of course, being built by U.S. taxpayer dollars. And so you just had all these Taliban guys up on, whatever floor, the 10th floor or something, shooting down at all the Americans in Bagram Air Base. And rather than sending in troops to the building to try and take out the Taliban guys and defeat them and get them out of this hospital that's under construction, they said, oh, let's just blow up the hospital and take them down with it. And that's what they did. And so they completely destroyed this huge, hulking concrete structure that was being built with American taxpayer dollars, so that they wouldn't have to send the troops in, just because there were some Taliban guys that got in. And this is, a good reason why perhaps Afghanistan is such a hellhole and why they don't really have any buildings or anything or hospitals, is because as soon as there's anything worthwhile that stands out from the countryside, it's just going to get blown up. It's a target. And this isn't just some goat herder's shack who was accused by a known patriot of being a Taliban sympathizer getting blown up. No, this is a hospital being built by the United States government itself, just got blown up by the U.S. I mean, if this isn't a case where you send in ground troops to try and, defeat these guys, if you wouldn't do it in this case, in which there's so much on the line of losing this very important building, well, then you're not going to really send them in almost any case. So it makes sense why again, they're able to reduce the amount of ground troops, and Trump's not getting a whole bunch of belly aching from the military, because they're saying, oh, that's fine. As long as you don't touch the Air Force, we're good. Because all we need are our A-10 Warthogs to go in there and, burt some guys, and everything will be just fine. And even with all that said, Trump is not even reducing the number of troops in the Middle East as a whole. Even after pulling out these 4,000 troops from Afghanistan, he more than compensated for that over this year by adding another 14,000 troops to the Middle East, supposed to quote-unquote deter Iran, which apparently hasn't been working too well since the U.S. keeps blaming Iran for more and more things. If you are to believe them, it would seem like that this deterrence is having the opposite effect. So watch how this game is played. Trump pulls 4,000 troops of Afghanistan, inserts another 14,000, and we're supposed to call that a win, that he's drawing it down. And I'm sure even the media probably, although the media might be getting to the point to where they realize even they can't defend the war in Afghanistan anymore, so maybe they won't give Trump crap for pulling troops out of Afghanistan, as limited as this is. But anyway, he's still, on the whole, for the entire Middle East, putting more troops there. And these are not the 14,000 planned troops that I discussed earlier last week, I think. These are 14,000 troops that have already been sent since May. Esper has confirmed this. Now, there's also a proposal that keeps getting kicked around that some people deny and some people confirm, that the Defense Department is considering sending another 14,000 troops to deter Iran. So we just can't win. No matter what, if they decide to pull out of one place, they're just going to increase troops in another place. I don't remember if I would be interesting to look back. I don't know if they did this back in Vietnam when they pulled the troops out of Vietnam, if they immediately deployed them somewhere else. But I can't think of anything like that. This really might be a phenomenon exclusive to this millennium, to where the U.S. just absolutely under no circumstances will give in and will always keep this massive troop presence in the Middle East. So with that said, if you gained anything of value out of this video, I'd appreciate you clicking that like button and sharing this video. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe, because I do upload every day and I'd hate to have you miss one. So I'll see you folks back here tomorrow.